Choose one.
Like I said, I think this one's going to be a little bit longer than usual because it is going to be longer than usual. So I'll have two visualizations in this video and two visualizations in the other, just so that we can have a deeper foundation and starting with nothing. And if it needs to be the case that we need to like think through what needs to be done, we can do so, write it out. And then, I didn't have the capacity to teach you how to do this, but if you can write it out, you can throw it into AI and then have it, finish the rest for you. So we're going to go ahead and answer these questions with regards to doing some of the data transformations here, and then we'll build each layer one at a time so that we can answer the question. So jump right back into it. Which player team pair produced the highest average game score, and does conference membership affect that ranking? And so what we're doing is we're going to group by. This is I think the first time you've seen this. Group by player, by team name, with the team that they belong to, and the conference that they're in. Okay, the conference that they're in. And I think that last part, conference, doesn't really. It does have an impact. I'm looking at the score and the answer already, but yeah, it's fine. So we're going to group by all these three. Then you're going to look at the number of games that they played, and then the average game score that they had during that game. It doesn't account for variability with regards to game score, but that's fine. And then during that grouping, we're going to filter on games being greater than 50, greater than or equal to 50. Okay, greater than or equal to 50. But the thing is that most of these players already did more than 50 games. Three players did more than 50 games. Okay. So with that being said, we can go ahead and just run this chunk. Before we do that, let's comment this out. Okay. Run this chunk. I'm starting all new from today, so I'm gonna run above, then run this chunk. And then now I should have player, team, game score. So here's the data. Okay, we have Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. These are the averages. Okay, of course, Michael Jordan is the best. I'm biased. I can't say much. Okay, can't say much. And so then you can see my player when LeBron James played for the East Coast, and then Kobe Bryant. All right. So with that being said, let's make this visualization. So the very first thing that we want to note is that we're going to utilize Geom or ggplot. Sorry, player, team. Okay, and I'm going to pipe that into ggplot. Okay, where AES, the aesthetics, I'm going to say X is equal to team name. Okay, and then Y, Y is going to be equal to average game score. Okay, Y is going to be equal to average game score. Okay. And then I'm going to leave it like this, okay, for a moment. I'm going to do some changes in a moment to this. And then this is going to be geom call. And I usually don't like geom call. I might change it. We'll see. But this is going to at least show us the base plot, okay, in terms of those averages. Okay, so here we go. To our left, we can see the averages, okay. Truthfully speaking, I'd rather would see a point, but it's fine. I'm going to keep it there for that for now. But you can see this is not in order. And we know that we like to see things in order. And so what we can implement is this function called FCT from forecats, reorder, to reorder the actual teams based off of the frequency. So it'll be team name, then average game score. Okay. And I think that should change the order. Okay, so it's ascending. And if we wanted to do descending now, I think you'll just say descending is equal to true. If we remember that from the second video, second ETV cycle. But we'll keep that as ascending. That's fine. All right. So then from there, what we'd want to do is add the field. Okay, add field based on the conference. Okay, this is going to be based on the actual conference. Okay, so now it's going to have color. Okay, so that's cool. That's nice. But as you can see, there are some other elements that we would want to change. The X and Y axis, the names of the X and Y axis. And for those, I'm actually going to press pause. So I know it's going to be a lot of typing for me. You know, I type slow. um, but this is a legitimate good base. Let's make another modification. Let's say width is equal to 0.75. So it's not too wide. Um, but we can make this look a little bit better. And I would say because we can't see the names really well, I ideally would want to make this horizontal, as in change the flip of the actual text. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some of these things. So oh, and also I would want to show the frequencies on top of these things. That's something that we haven't seen before. So let's go ahead and do some of these things first. Okay, down here. And again, I'm only doing this for learning purposes in terms of this order. Ideally, they should all be up here, but again, we're just doing this for learning purposes. So we're going to do P1 base, and I'm just going to add geom text. Okay. No, that's not what I wanted. Geom underscore text. Okay. And then I'm going to say, start here, AES, the aesthetics. I want to provide the label of the actual frequency, actual number. Okay. Is equal to number of average game score. And then we're going to say accuracy. No, I will ignore that for a moment. And then I'm going to, actually, I'm going to run it just like this, just so you can see how it's going to look kind of funky. So just run this. Where's my error? This parentheses goes to this one. Did I forget? Okay, there we go. So as you look at this, you can see that it's kind of weird looking in terms of location. Well, and also it has so many different decimal places, or too many decimal places, one could argue. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reduce the number of decimal places by saying accuracy is equal to 0.1. So just provide the first decimal place, not with so many equals. Okay, there we go. And then I'm gonna raise those numbers a tad bit, but that's by using HJust, horizontal adjustment. And I'm just gonna, it's kind of counterintuitive. Sorry, I'm gonna raise it up a tad bit. Well, I'm not gonna raise it. I'm just gonna move it over to the left a little bit, and that's by using negative 0.15. It could be any number, but I'm just using that number. So it's gonna move it to the left just a tad, or to the right, because I'm gonna eventually do something. But and the last one, at least I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. I'm gonna say size is equal to 3, and that's gonna make the font a little bit bigger. Okay, there you go. You can see that. All right. So then from there, I'm just gonna flip the axis. Okay, chord, flip. Okay. So it doesn't look too crazy. It kind of still looks crazy. Um, I could change the y-axis, or at least this axis in terms of frequencies, but I'm not going to do that in this video just because of time. Um, I'm going to add labels, but I'm going to pause it for labels because it's going to take me a while to type. Okay, so let's pause this. Labels, let's go ahead and press run. Okay, so a couple of things to take note of. I made the conference in C capitalized, so you can do that with when you use fill within label. Y is going to be average game score. We did that there. X we're going to say is null. We don't want a name there. It's kind of obvious that these are the teams. And then the subtitle only player Team pairs with at least 50 games are shown. And then finally, average game score by team player. Okay, so that's interesting. Why is it showing size 3 there? I'll get rid of that next time. But what things we can also do, just in terms of just adding more detail, is to then just add, or at least make it minimal in terms of extra information. Is this theme BW, just so that it doesn't have a big background. You see, there's a little bit of runoff here. What we can then do is, I think it's still the x-axis, right? No, it's the y-axis now. I'm gonna say y, and I don't like to put it here. Let's actually put it a little bit closer. Let's say up here before we actually even do the base change, the chord change. Just do y lim, um, 0 to, let's say, 28. Okay, and then add this just so that we can see this 24.5. Um, Run this. And there's a lot of ways of changing this. That's just my preference for right now. There we go. I can't think right now how to remove this, but there's something dealing with this situation. I'm pretty sure I did something wrong. Um, but yeah, that ought to do it for now. Maybe it should be here. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, so that's that. So put in the comments if you figure out how to get that working. I just had to bypass the scale Y continuous, but when it comes to the actual geom text, this is allowing us to. Geom text allows us to directly add labels so that the viewer can read the average game score. So that's nice. Geom text. Okay. So that's that. So moving right along, I'm gonna have to pause this again. So, does scoring distribution look different when facing East versus Western conference opponents? This one's a little bit interesting because legitimately we're only providing data currently um, based off of them playing the West or the East corresponding to their particular conference, which is kind of tricky with the data. Um, because the conferences were not joined based off of their opponents, it's based on their associated division. If that's kind of confusing, don't worry about it. Um, in terms of this situation, we are going to do some data manipulations. So let's go ahead and just do that real fast. Um, we're going to say NBA underscore analysis underscore DF. Pipe this into filter and get all the games that had points and have a conference associated with it. So we're going to do not is.na points, comma, not is.na conference. Okay. So now we can then pipe it the um into the ggplot. Okay. So what we'll now do is we're going to use a box plot for this in terms of our visualizations. Our visualization, we're going to do geom or ggplot, ggplot AES. I'm just going to do the next line just so I can see it easier. X is equal to conference, okay? And then Y is going to be equal to PTS. Let's see, and then we're going to add the geom box plot to this, geom underscore box plot to this, and see what this looks like. Okay, so this is by east and this is west, but you know that we need to have players in some way, shape, or fashion. So just keep note of that. So we're going to make it look kind of fancy by adding a fill to this. So it can look, fill is equal to conference. Okay, so add some color to this. And then what we're going to then add is a facet wrap. Okay. Around player. So we can do facet. So we can do grid, and that's when you actually specify the actual dimensions of the grid. But since we have 3 players, we'll just have it wrap around if it gets too big. But that's what wrap is different from grid. And so this is going to be tilde player. So this is going to do it by column. Sorry, about it's going to be columns, 3 columns by the players. But if I were to do tilde, it's going to be 3 rows. Did I do that? Need a dot there. I'll get ahead of myself. My apologies. I don't know why I didn't stack. Okay. I'll look into that. So that's that. So what's interesting, we could add continuous breaks. Let's do that just so you can see what it looks like. And I'm just gonna start doing it here just so that we can have more space. So scale. So scales allows us to change either the X or Y axis based off of what we want to define it as. We're going to say it's continuous, and we're going to say the breaks that occur, those little ticks, should be every 10, right now it's only every 20. Oh, no. Okay, I'm back. Break, breaks with is every 10. Let's see what this, so now it's every 10 rather than 20, which is cool. Okay. I'm gonna pause it for adding labels. Let me do before I do that, let me add some things to the theme. I'm gonna do theme light. This is one that we've never seen before. And then I'm gonna say base size is equal to 12. And run this. Look, it should be, where did I make the mistake? Theme light. Ah, there it is. Base size. Okay, boom. There we go. There we go. Let's pause for the. You can see I put the labels there. Scoring distribution by conference. Each panel shows 1 player, and then X is going to be null because it's conference, which is also specified by the actual colors. We say Y is the point scored instead of just points, and then the fill is conference, so that this again is conference, capital C. So now we can see those changes were made, okay, which is good. I'm just gonna do one small thing. In my notes, I have more, but one small thing that's making me kind of upset is the Western Eastern Conference situation. And so what I can do is I can add this layer called theme, and I'm gonna change the axis dot text. Okay, when I say text, that's referring to Eastern Conference, Western Conference. Okay, and what I'm gonna do here dot x, I'm going to say element text. That didn't help me. Text. Okay. They want that underscore. And then we're going to say angle is 30. Okay, we could set 45 or something like that, but this at least puts an angle on it so it's not like, overbiting. Another thing in terms of aesthetics, overbiting over the actual graph. One of the things we could have done just relabeled Eastern and Western in this plot. So, like, say, using case when, made it EC and WC, and then the subtitles specify what EC and WC actually represent. But that's neither here nor there. We could also censor the title as well, so that works as well, and go from there. So that is that video. At least that is these two subtasks. And again, I know I'm spending a little bit more time on visualizations, but and the reason is so that you can get a little bit more, comfort with building those layers. So let's do it two more times. Thank you.